to get ready. Make love. It's time to get ready. Time to get ready. Time to get ready. Whoa, wake up. It's time to get ready. Oh wow. It's time to get ready. Make love. It's time to get ready. Time to get ready. Time to get ready. Whoa, wake up. It's time to get ready.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, ladies and germs. It's your boys, Jorge, rolling back at it again. It is time. We've waited so long. NFL's back. Boy, oh boy. And we are starting off with the Chiefs and Texans on Thursday night. We got to go through our predictions for the entire season, our division winners, the wild cards, and finally, the Super Bowl pick. So who do you have to start off in the NFC East?
In the NFC least, George, as we always like to call it. But it's secretly, the division is getting better. I don't know. It's going to be a close one. I believe you look at it last year, George, when – I'm sorry. You look at it last year when you had the NFC East, and it looked like for sure that everyone thought for a longer period of time that maybe, like Cowboys would walk away with the division. The Eagles ended up coming back to win the division 9-7 in a spectacular Carson Wentz heroic performance, and Dallas ended up finishing 8-8. I think it's going to be those two teams probably again. Washington's still rebuilding, and New York Giants are going to be better. I believe Jason Garrett, I think, is going to give Saquon Barkley the attention. He's going to be like such a focal point for that New York Giants offense, more so than he was in the first 2 years of his career. Because as we know with Jason Garrett, he's going to use the running backs, as we've seen with Zeke. He's going to pound the rock. He's going to catch a lot of passes. So I can see the Giants being sneakily better than what they were last year. They could probably possibly even win anywhere between 6 to 8 games, maybe, depending on the production of Saquon Barkley and how their defense holds up. But I think it's going to come down to Philly, and I think it's going to come down with Dallas. I look at both rosters, and they're both very talented, but I have a lot more confidence in what Dallas got going on over what Philly has going on. I believe Mike McCarthy, although he got ran out of Green Bay, he's still a Super Bowl winning head coach. So so is Doug Peterson. But, I look at it, and I'm like, which team is set up best right now to win? I think that's Dallas. So I'm gonna go with Dallas. I don't think it's gonna be. It's not gonna be by like 2 games. It'll probably come down to maybe even that last Week 17 matchup.
Gotcha.
But give me Dallas to win the division by probably like a half a game. What's that?
See, I'd agree with you in choosing Dallas, but they're trying their mightiest to bring Earl Thomas in. And I think they're a year or two too late in bringing Earl Thomas to fix that defense. And as much as I love CeeDee Lamb, I don't know if he's the answer to I'm only playing 8 games per season in Amari Cooper. So I like Philadelphia, mostly because they got rid of that. They're shopping Alshon. They were shopping Alshon Jeffrey, I believe.
They're keeping him.
They're keeping him, but that to me just means Alshon Jeffrey isn't getting any burn on the offense because he's sort of drops a lot. And Carson Wentz, he's got some receivers now. I believe the rookie that they drafted this past April,
Dylan Rigger.
He has a lot of potential to actually, 1, catch the ball, and 2, be a playmaker on the offense. And that's all Carson Wentz needs.
He's going to bring a lot of things that Carson Wentz didn't have before. I agree there.
So I think Philadelphia's going to win. I give them 9-7. Similar to you, it'll go down to the last game, but no one in this division is strong enough. I mean, I could easily see Dwayne Haskins getting benched for Alex Smith if he continues to struggle. Now that Alex Smith has been cleared to play. Just so Alex Smith gets the rep and gets the playing time, and maybe Washington can flip his contract into some more draft picks because they're clearly rebuilding. Who knows what's going to happen with this draft? If Dwayne Haskins doesn't play well and has to have Alex Smith come in, then it's game over. Neither one of them are going to stay on the team. Giants, the book is still out on whether, because you mentioned Jason Garrett as if he's the head coach.
No, he's the offensive coordinator.
And he's the offensive coordinator.
Joe Judge.
Joe Judge. I have no idea what Joe Judge is going to do. I mean, Yeah, I like Jason Garrett as a choice for offensive coordinator, but
I
I
love
don't
it.
really know what else he brings to the table. And him trying to
Well,
be the next Belichick concerns me.
here, if I could just dive in
Yeah,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
the reason why I love the signing for Jason Garrett with Joe Judge as the head coach for the Giants because Joe Judge is not an offensive mind guy. Like he was the special team coach in New England. And if we know one thing about Bill Belichick, he doesn't have bad coaches on his staff. So we're left to believe that Joe Judge is going to be at least a semi-decent coach. So if you're telling me Joe Judge doesn't have to he has Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett will take care of the offense. He won't have to worry about that side of the ball. It's almost like having two head coaches. It's going to work in a way for Jason Garrett to where he's going to he's going to be more heavily involved in what's going on in the office. Joe Judge will oversee a lot of it, but he won't I don't think he's going to interfere with what Jason Garrett's going to have going. So I expect the Giants to win a lot more closer games because I think they'll be a lot better on the special team side of the ball just due to Joe Judge that being his nick. That's where he made his had hanged his hat on. So they'll be better if they're better in the special team department and they can get any type of defensive productivity. I think the Giants I think I said 6 to 8 games. I can see that. 6 to 8 games for them.
Moving on to the NFC West, the defending NFC champion 49ers are coming back to defend their division title. But I honestly think Seattle is going to take this division. I think the 49ers are starting to realize that Jimmy Garoppolo is not the most accurate of throwers of the ball, and that they really relied heavily on the running game. And Raheem Mostert demanding a trade over the summer. I don't know if he's going to have that same motivation that he did last year to make that run. And they're going to need him among the other running back by committee that Kyle Shanahan just seems to love. I don't think that they're going to maintain the same momentum, especially with Arizona in that division looking really hot with Nuke on the team now, and he just re-signed for a max deal.
Yeah.
Not to mention that the Rams are still in that division, and they're fully focused on Jared Goff throwing the ball 100% of the time, if not 90. So for that reason, I think Seattle, with the addition of Jamal Adams, bolsters their defense. Where now they can get the key stops and the playmaking at the end of games that they need to supplement the lack of points that are going to be scored. Because if the Seattle Seahawks have shown us anything, is that they tend to focus more on the defensive side of the ball than they do about the offense and who Russell Wilson is throwing it to. Russell Wilson is an all-time great quarterback, so you give him whatever weapons on offense, even if it's adequate to average or whatever, he'll make it work. Yeah. But that defense is what Pete Carroll loves to focus on. I think that Jamal Adams trade with the Jets is going to propel them to the division lead. What do you think?
I think it's going to be close again. This is easily one of the most stacked divisions in all of football. The NFC, I think, has a lot of stacked divisions outside of the NFC East. And this is going to be another close one. The Rams are fully capable, George, of literally shocking a lot of people and going out there and winning the division. I don't think a lot of people look at it that way because it's Jared Goff and everyone's like, I know people are going to hear what you just said, George, and be like, hey, if Jared Goff is throwing the ball 90% of the time, they're going to lose. That's not true. If Jared Goff can get Cam Akers and it sounds like they're going to go running back by committee there now with no Todd Gurley there. So he's not going to get the majority of the touches. But if they drafted the kid Cam Akers, and he's supposed to be, I think he's going to be the standout running back of all the, running backs.
It's going to take time without preseason for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I think he's eventually midway point through the season going to establish himself as that lead running back there in Los Angeles. So I look at the Rams; they can easily go out there and shock a lot of people and win the division. I don't think that this is going to be the Cardinals' year. I think they have too many holes to still. The offensive line is not going to be good enough. I'm not completely sold on Kenyon Drake, although he had a great end of the year last year. I got to see him do that for a whole season before I can, because if he does what he did. For the last 6 games for a whole season, he's going to point his name in the hat of among the top running backs in all football. That's how great he was last year. You mentioned Noops, great signing. Then Christian Kirk, still got Larry Fitzgerald, and I think it's going to be a lot to motivate. Let's do it for Larry. Let's do it for the Larry. But like you could say that, but if your defense can't get the stops and your offensive line can't block nobody, in a division where you're facing Nick Bosa twice a year, you're facing Seattle twice a year, you're facing Aaron Donald twice a year. Your offensive line is going to have to be able to block some people, and I think they're going to struggle in that department. So I can't say Arizona's going to win it. Also, I think they'll compete. I don't think they'll win it. So then it will come down to Seattle and San Francisco, and I'm with you, George. I'm going to have to sit here and say I believe Seattle's going to win the division.
Okay.
And it's nothing that I don't think the 49ers. It's nothing against the 49ers. Like you brought up the Raheem Mostert, demanding a trade at the beginning of all season, which was weird. Because it was like,
after the draft, and then
you didn't hear nothing about him being disgruntled about wanting the new deal. Those weren't the news coming out. They just suddenly broke the news with that. I think Kyle Shanahan is going to do a great job again. You got George Kittle. Once Deebo Samuel gets fully healthy, and it looks like he's going to be able to play a lot sooner than a lot of people thought. So he'll be back in the mix, and their defense is just going to remain stout. Especially if they can add Earl Thomas to a veteran leader to the 49ers staff, and they run a lot of that Seattle cover 3 look. Yeah. So like it'll be a great fit there. If they can get Earl Thomas, maybe I would consider changing my pick, maybe. But I'm gonna go with Seattle. I think DK Metcalf is going to take another step forward this year. Tyler Lockett they're going to remain run heavy. That's just what Seattle is. Yeah. They're always going to be a run heavy team. But as Russell Wilson continues to evolve himself as an all-time great passer, I love Seattle here. I think Seattle can win. Last year they won 11 games. I can see them winning 11 games this year. And I think that could win the division. I don't think San Francisco is going to go out and win 13 games. Because remember when San Francisco was 6-0, nobody even believed it. There was a lot of people who was questioning how
it was a very easy schedule at the beginning.
Yeah, like how legitimate of a 6-0 were they? Yeah. And then we found out, hey, they're a real good team. A lot of teams aren't going to sweep on the 49ers the way they did last year. A lot more people are going to look at Nick Bosa and make sure they chip him. He going to see and they lost to Forrest Buckner, and I don't want that to get lost in the.
That's a key loss.
Because that's a key loss, and they didn't really replace. Like you signed Eric Armstead. But Eric Armstead is like a poor man's DeForest Buckner. Yeah. You had the real thing, and then you signed the lesser version for still pretty expensive money. So I like Seattle here too, George. I agree with you there.
Going to the most interesting division, not the South, the North, because we have Aaron Rodgers with good old young quarterback. Breathing down his neck, just saying, "Hey, remember when you did this to Brett Favre? Well, karma's coming back, so you better play well." And then you have Minnesota, who just traded away Stephon Diggs to Buffalo, and now it's all on Kirk Cousins. They just they have Yannick Ngakoue now, who we discussed. You have Detroit, who's trying to make that next step. And with their key additions, they now have Adrian Peterson as who presumably their second string running back could go in there with Carry On and do a dynamic duo between those two. And then there's the Bears, who traded for Nick Foles and still gave the job to Mitch Trubisky anyway. So who is your pick for the NFC North division?
This division is tricky, George. It's tricky. Like the NFC West, because would anyone be shocked if the Bears somehow won the division? Because I wouldn't be. I would not be. Because the division, their defense is. If they could get, I don't think people look at last year like the Bears defense was bad. No, they were still historically great. They were on the field just way too long.
But Mitch Trubisky though.
And this is what I wanted to bring up, George. Last year, I felt like Mitch Trubisky was way more relaxed. There was no pressure of someone coming in and taking his job. So those mistakes that he was able to make, he wasn't putting Chase Daniels in the game. So it was like, okay, now there's competition. There's a legit threat behind Mitch Trubisky, which I think could bring out the best of Mitch Trubisky. I'm not saying Mitch Trubisky is going to be a all pro quarterback. So that's just not who Michigan is. But if you could tell me with Matt Nagy's great offensive mind and Tariq Cohen being healthy again and bringing in an onslaught of tight ends, they have like 4 good tight ends that can play. And, they got a host of tight ends that can play. Allen Robinson being still among underrated great number 1 receiver in all of football. And if their defense could just not be on the field for 12 plays on a half, and they can get some breaks, I have no reason to believe that they can't go out there and be great again.
So you're picking Chicago?
I'm not. Now, this is not me picking Chicago. This is me making the point that I would not be shocked if Chicago won. I'm not crazy. This is it for Detroit. If Matt Patricia doesn't turn it around this year, they're rebooting that whole progress. That whole system's going to be flipped over. So it's make or break this year for Detroit, and I think the same thing with Matt Stafford as well. I think if they don't do nothing this year, you're not going to keep Matt Stafford on the books, because you're not winning anything. And you can trade Matt Stafford, and maybe not get a first, but you can probably get a second and third. You probably can get something, good for a Matt Stafford. So you could possibly move him off. Now, I'm not picking Detroit either. I think it's also going to be between the two teams that came across through last year with Green Bay and Minnesota. I'm going to pick Minnesota to win the division. Okay. I like Kirk Cousins enough to believe. I've seen enough out of Kirk Cousins. I know who Kirk Cousins is. Kirk Cousins behind Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, a decent offensive line. Gary Kubiak at the head coach, as the offensive coordinator. Matt Zimmer as head coach. We mentioned Yannick Ngakoue on our last segment, on our last episode. Yeah, their defense is going to be stout again. And Green Bay won a lot of close games last year. They went 13-3, winning a lot of close games. And if anyone knows anything about sports, you can just as easily lose those close games the following year that you won the year before. So I don't think they're seeing 13 wins again. I think it's more realistic that Minnesota wins closer to the 10 games they won last year to 11 games this year. So although you brought up, George, they lost Stephon Diggs. They did they brought in Justin Jefferson, who's a bigger, and maybe not as fat, but he's a bigger body to what Stephon Diggs was. So I can see them almost picking up right where they left off there, with having 2 great wide receivers to throw the ball to. And I just don't believe that Aaron Jones is going to run for like 16 TDs again this year. I don't see that happening. Their defense, they lost Blake Martinez and a host of other defensive players. So the defense, which was bad last year, it's only going to get worse. And they lost Jimmy Graham, which was not a big loss, but it's still a loss. So I look at Green Bay as taking a step back because it didn't really improve much via draft or free agency. I think Minnesota did enough to actually improve their roster and overlead Green Bay to take the division. For probably, I'll say 11-5. It'll probably be what they win. They'll go. Okay.
You hear that, Roll? Do you hear that in the background?
Hear what?
It's time to pound the alarm because there's another hot take coming in.
Oh, my gosh.
There's another hot take coming in. I agree with you. Maybe Minnesota could pick up where they left off. Green Bay did win a lot of close games. But I say 9. Neither of those teams are winning that division. I'm going Mr. Pencil in his ear.
Oh, no.
I say this is the year. Matt Stafford picks it up where he left off all those years ago. He's got AP trying to prove himself
nigga?
With Kerryon Johnson and a rookie in Swift. Oh, it's game over. Detroit's going 10-6. They're winning this division.
Now you think Tennessee wins the division?
It's going to be the resurrection of Matt Stafford. We're going to see the Matt Stafford from Georgia. That's the Matt Stafford we're going to see.
He said of Georgia.
We're seeing the Matt Stafford from Georgia. That's what we're doing this year.
Okay.
Okay. There's no fans. You don't have to worry about no frozen tundra with the Green Bay fans yelling at you. You don't have to worry about none of that. You don't have to worry about none of that. It's all you. There's no fans. Stafford, you just have to worry about yourself. You threw a game-winning touchdown with a broken freaking shoulder. It's done.
Okay, Kurt
It's
Angle.
done. It's done. I'm 10-6. Detroit, book it right now.
Now, before I let you carry on, 10-6 wins the division. What do you got Minnesota and Green Bay at? I'm just curious.
I'll get to that later.
Okay. All right.
But just let it be known that on this day,
what is it?
I predicted that Detroit Lions will go 10-6, win the division, with AP and Matt Stafford leading the way. It's going to be the greatest fantasy for Detroit right now.
Oh yeah,
right now. Anyway.
I said he's good for 1 year. One episode, and here he goes again.
NFC South. Are we picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Yes or no?
No.
Oh, okay. Who do you have? Because I have the Bucks, sir.
I mean, can I blame you for taking the Bucks? No, not at all.
No.
Not in the slightest. They essentially got the Golden State Warrior Buccaneers thing going on over there, where they're signing anybody and everybody. Hey, you want to come play for us? We ain't got no money, but you'll win a ring. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, we'll give you $5,000. Come on down. Leonard Fournette, you're disgruntled and you want a new team? Come on down. We can't pay you nothing, but come on down. That's basically what's going on there in Tampa Bay. They're just handing out, $2 million, 2,000s, and
24/7 champion Rob Gronkowski. Would you like to stop wrestling and come back to football?
And come play with your buddy Tom Brady and slap people on the butts and Gronk spike. Yeah. We all in here. But no, George, I do not have them winning the division. I do not have the Saints winning the division.
Oh, your sister's gonna be pissed.
I am going to make a hot take of my own. And I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow.
And I think there's something to be said about continuity, George. Uh-huh. It's something to be said about knowing your personnel.
Okay.
And I'm here to tell you, George, the Falcons, as happy as I was to see them sucking last year, because I'm like, fuck, every team in my division gonna suck if we suck. But I can admit, they had a lot of injuries to their defense. Deion Jones, Kenneth Neal, Desmond Trufant. The list goes on. Grady Jarrett. I'm naming people who are top at their position who went down last year at some point in time, and they're back. So I must believe their defense is going to be significantly better with those key pieces on the field without them. And they still went. I think a lot of people don't realize this. They only went 7-9 last year, George, with all those injuries. With all those injuries, they only went 7-9. Now, if you mean to tell me Todd Gurley can become anything of the Todd Gurley that we knew before, if he could just be decent, we're talking about a top 10 running back, top 5 running back in all of football. But if he can be top 10, that's going to be good enough. Because then we still got Julio. And I expect Calvin Ridley to take another jump up forward. I think Calvin Ridley is going to emerge to be like another great receiver. I think he has that type of potential. And the reason why I don't have the Saints winning the division is because they win a lot of games due to that loud crowd noise that you just alluded to, George. They won't have. Yep. So essentially, they'll be playing a lot of road games. And how were they on the road historically the last 5 years? Terrible. They're a terrible road team. So I don't care if they're playing in the Mercedes-Benz, as long as there's no crowd in there, it's playing on the road. And I can see them losing a lot of games. And Tampa Bay looks great on paper. Looks great on paper, but so did that 2011 Philadelphia Eagles team that was the dream team. They looked great on paper.
Vince Young anymore.
We just seen Drew Brees, a man who contemplates retirement, George, it's probably done. Drew Brees, I think in his mind is done. Tom Brady, last time we seen him, he was throwing pick 6 to his former teammate in the playoffs game. with Bill Belichick at quarterback and head coach. So I don't want to hear nothing now. I don't want to hear nothing. You mean to tell me Bruce Arians is going to stop Tom Brady from throwing pick sixes?
He revived Carson Palmer's career, sir. He made Carson Palmer relevant again without Ocho Cinco.
That's nice.
All right, real quick.
I'm here to tell you.
Yeah.
Atlanta Falcons, 11-5.
Wow.
Book it.
Wow. Who are your wild cards then in the NFC?
See, you go first. You
want me to go first? Okay.
You touch it first.
I got the 49ers coming out the West. And I have the Vikings as the second wild card.
So, George, you know what you just said.
I know what I just said.
I
know exactly. I know the repercussions of the words that just came out of my mouth.
I'm just making sure.
That the Detroit Lions will be better than the Minnesota Vikings this coming season.
You said the Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions will be better than the Minnesota Vikings by a single game. By a single game.
So, George, the Saints aren't in the playoffs?
Nah.
Okay. All right.
There's no fans. Just like you said, there's no fans.
That is true.
There's no who dat yelling. You can put every EA Madden simulation fans in that. It's not the same. It's not the same.
So here where I go. Here's where I'm gonna go. Your beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers will make wild card. They will make the wild card. And it was hard for me to not put both teams from the end. I almost had 3 teams in the NFC South being in this goddamn playoffs. Because I was real close to putting the Saints in. But I think the 49ers squeak out not the Saints. I think they squeak out the Philadelphia Eagles to get that last wild card spot.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, as you know, we're always sponsored by Diplomacy Clothing. Negotiate with style with Diplomacy Clothing. Go follow them on Instagram. Make your orders now. They are delivering brand new Pay Me shirts and Pay Me hats. It is the peak of their shopping season. Go make your orders now. Roland, who do you have winning the AFC East?
AFC East, we're going to dive right into it, and I'm just going to come out and say it. It's going to be Bills. Let's go with the Bills. Who runs the wagon better than the Buffalo Bills? It was New England and I'll tell you, George, it was close. Yeah. I didn't have any team running away. It was much like the NFC East. I didn't have no team running away with the division. I think they'll all be within a couple of games to get, the wild cards, or possible divisions. I just like the Bills. Same thing with, like I said last year, the last division we just played with the Falcons. Continuity has a lot to do with this, and the Bills, they know what they are, they know who they are, and I think the Bills they'll ride it out.
Okay. I want to explain something to the Buffalo Bills fans. You know what social distancing is? Picture yourself as Stephon Diggs running a streak route. And now picture 6 feet away, Josh Allen's pass that was meant for you landing 6 feet in front of you. Because that's how this season is going to go. Sure, maybe you might get 1,000 yards. Sure, you might get 10 touchdowns. But when it all comes down to it, you're going to have social distancing between the ball and the receivers.
Josh Allen like this?
And everyone says, oh, well, Devin Singletary's going to have a breakout year. Well, you know what Devin Singletary is amazing at? Fumbling the ball. You know what Josh Allen is amazing at? Fumbling the ball by trying to lateral to the opposing team. This is the best AFC pick anyone could make. But I have to say, as much as it pains me to say this, as a Jets fan,
gosh, I think George hates the Bills more than I think it's true.
As much as it pains me to say this as the AFC favorite, damn it, what did I say when Cam Newton got signed by the Patriots? If he's healthy, this dynasty continues.
I don't think he's healthy. That's why I didn't
pick him. Healthy?
Yeah, that's why I didn't pick him.
See, I think he's healthy. And
if he's healthy, George, I'm with you. If he's healthy, I'm with you.
I think if he's not healthy, he'll be healthy by season's end, and they will have the division in hand because, like I said before, the Bills, they turn it over a tad too much. They overthrow the receivers a tad 6 feet too much. And the Jets, well, we don't know what that offensive line is looking like. What by midseason, if they have an average offensive line, then maybe I'll consider them for the division winner next year. The Dolphins, I don't even know what's going on with the Dolphins. You have the perfect opportunity to say, yeah, Fitzpatrick, he's going through a family loss. We have our thoughts and prayers with him. Here's Tua, week 1. You could do that. You could do that. You don't. So
No.
the Dolphins, they don't want to reel into that Tua era yet.
You can't risk the man getting injured. I understand it.
So I understand it, but at the same time, it's go time, baby. It's week 1.
It is.
There's
You're
no
right.
preseason.
I took you in the
This is
first
college
round.
football.
Tua's
used to this. He's used to just starting game 1, no preseason, no practice. This is it, baby. Thrown in the fire. They don't want to do that. So for that reason, I'm saying New England.
Okay.
At a solid 9-7.
Okay.
Solid 9-7, and I say that only because
That's what I got. That's why I probably got Buffalo going.
And because the New York Jets and pretty much most of the AFC East have an extremely tough schedule. They play the AFC West, who we'll get into. They play a ton of tough divisions. They'll be lucky if any of this team is better than 2-2 by week 5. So that's my pick right now for the East. Roll. Who do you have at the West? Let's go at 3, 2, 1. The Chiefs.
Chiefs.
AFC North. Who do you have?
Whew. Now this is a compelling one. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's who I'm gonna take to win the division. Now, do I say that confidently? Not completely. I'm kind of going off I think the NFL will figure out enough of Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying they're going to stop the guy. Because there's no stopping what he does. You just can't do it. But I think a lot of those big 25-plus yard runs he broke up for TDs last year, he don't get all of those, and they have to work for a lot more touchdowns. So I think they'll regress in what he threw, 36 touchdowns last year. I think that'll come back. They'll probably throw somewhere between 28, because what Patrick Mahomes had, like 50 his first breakout year, came back down to reality, had about like 20-something, high 20s the next year. So I think he'll finish around that radius. But I like Pittsburgh defense a lot more than I like Baltimore defense. That's kind of what it comes down to. I think if Big Ben's healthy, I don't even think it's going to be competitive if Big Ben's healthy.
Yeah.
And because they got big-time receivers in Juju and Deontay Johnson. Mm-hmm. They got James Conner coming back who's fully healthy, rejuvenated, ready to go out there and produce. A great offensive line as always. Great stout defense. Well coached by Mike Tomlin. And last year, you look at it. Oh, excuse me, guys. If you look at it last year, George, they went 8-8, George, with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph at quarterback. Yeah. So and no production from James Conner, barely. No production from Juju Smith-Schuster, and barely anything from Deontay Johnson. So as all those guys pick up their pace with Ben Roethlisberger there, which we assume would happen, then I'm left to believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers will win the division at probably. See, the division's a tough division, so I don't think they'll win 12 games in that division. You'll probably go about 10-6. That'll probably be enough to win the division. Unless, the only team that could go out and win the division by more than 10 games is probably the Baltimore Ravens, and that's if they go out there and, did what they do last year. But outside of that, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh Steelers.
I agree with you. I also have Pittsburgh. The Ravens are trying to make Lamar Jackson into a pocket passer since they got eliminated from the wild card. Not for the wild card, the divisional. And I don't like that. I don't like that they're trying to change his game already 3 years in. So this is not how you utilize Lamar Jackson. He's not a pocket passer. Don't make him something he's not. And if you try to force him to be a pocket passer this year, you're going to lose a lot of games because that's not how he plays. It's a
And I don't
world-class
believe in that to
option.
begin with, George, because your guy like not Ben Roethlisberger, Lamar Jackson is efficient because he's fast, shifty, and explosive.
Yes.
Now, even if you keep Lamar Jackson healthy enough for 8 years, he's going to lose some of that agility, speed, and burst. So he's not even going to be the same quarterback. So what was the point of? I know I fucked up as it is to say, but what was the point of keeping him healthy for 8+ years if he's not going to be as nearly as efficient down the line as he would be right now? If you want to win yourself a championship, you let him go out there and do exactly what he did last year, and you just hope and pray you don't run into Derrick Henry again, who's just bulldozing your defense.
Yeah, and just looking at this division, I mean, Joe Burrow, there's still not outside of Joe Mixon, and you don't know about AJ Green's
Tyler
health.
Boyd, I tell you, George, I didn't think about them to win the division, but when I looked at their win totals, they can win probably about 6 games.
Yeah, no, they could win games, but they're not going to go over 500 this year anyway.
No,
They
not
still have a lot to figure
They'll
out.
score points, but they won't stop nobody. I'll say that.
With AJ Green back, he's still a question mark on how healthy he truly is. It's really going to be the Burrow and Joe Mixon show. John Ross he's going to be the number one guy.
I think Tyler Boyd will still probably be number one, but John Ross will probably see a fair share.
But again, AJ Green's health is the most important thing right now. Because if AJ Green is healthy and he goes back to the old AJ Green, then this team might become a dark horse in that division.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, they can score. I believe they can score.
Cleveland, I'm not so confident on because
I
don't like that they, for the second year in a row, they're trusting their Super Bowl caliber offense with a rookie head coach. I would prefer them to get a guy like Mike McCarthy, who's been to the Super Bowl, who has head coaching experience. Anyone with head coaching experience would have sufficed. But
I think they should have went. Personally, George, I think they should have went the harder for Josh McDaniels.
Yeah,
honestly, they should have. I don't care what it would have took to get him. Mm-hmm. Honestly, you give him whatever it took to get him out of New England, because he would have been the guy you need. That I would have trusted more than a rookie to lead. It's the same reason with the Bengals, George.
Yep.
I don't trust the coaching staff. They could score points, yes, but will they be fundamentally sound to win close, tight games? No. And that's the same thing with the Browns. Will they be? They can score points.
Yeah.
They can probably even stop some people from scoring points. But when it comes to the X's and O's and penalties and all the stuff that New England is great at, do I trust the Browns will be great at? No. And that's why I don't have them winning the division.
I mean,
they'll win about 8 games.
I would have accepted Marvin Lewis taking that in Cleveland.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have anyone with head coaching experience, but no. And AFC South. Is Phillip Rivers going to get the Colts back into the playoffs, or is it Deshaun Watson's division to never give back?
It was 7-9 last year for the Colts, and that was Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
If we can just believe that Phillip Rivers is an upgrade from Jacoby Brissett, which I think even at his old age, I still think he is. Mm-hmm. I like the Colts. I like them enough to beat Deshaun Watson. Yeah. I'll say yes. I'll say it. I'll go on the limb and say they will.
Really?
But that has nothing to do with Deshaun Watson. I want to be the first, because remember we did our way too early NFL prediction, and I had Deshaun Watson as my MVP favorite.
Yep.
I still believe that's possible. But it has a lot to do with Brandon Cooks being healthy, Will Fuller being healthy, and David Johnson being David Johnson. And that's not relying on Deshaun Watson. That has nothing to do with Deshaun Watson. It has something to do with the players around him. I know the players around Phillip Rivers. And they're a lot more consistent and a lot more healthy, minus T.Y. Hilton, than what Deshaun Watson has around him. Frank Wright's going to be a great coach. He has a great offensive line in front of him, a good running game, good defense. And that's all Phillip Rivers is going to need. We've seen Phillip Rivers with those exact things that I just listed. Take the San Diego Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers, both of them, to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I have no reason to believe in an easier division that he couldn't do it here.
I would agree with you if Phillip Rivers didn't throw so many damn interceptions.
Yeah.
That's my big concern with Phillip Rivers. Even with
that's always going to be
even with the improved offensive line, and that Colts offensive line is one of the best in the league.
For sure.
I still don't. I don't think his accuracy is there anymore. Marlon Mack, I don't know if he's going to be the featured back. There's been
I
talk
think
about a
Jonathan
running back
Taylor is going to see a
committee.
lot of touches there.
Yeah. So, and Houston, I love me Deshaun Watson. I'm glad he got his money. But the fact of the matter is, they traded away his number one receiver for a couple of injury-prone dudes in David Johnson, and then got Kenny Stills. So if that team can stay healthy, then maybe they can win that division
Yeah.
again. But I like to believe that Tennessee, now that they have Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry with their prospective contracts, that they will make a run for that division. Now, I don't think they'll make a run like they did last year and make it all the way to the championship game, but I think they will win the division and actually host a playoff game instead of going to a New England.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit more concerned with Tennessee. I don't know how much of that was a one-year wonder kind of thing, or like.
Well, I'd like to believe Derrick Henry is more than a one-year wonder.
No, it wasn't Derrick Henry. It was Ryan Tannehill. That's where my concern was. I need to see Ryan Tannehill do what he did again before I can hop on this may be a sustainable thing. I know what Phillip Rivers is, and that's kind of why I'm going with Phillip Rivers. You know, you break out the turnovers, which is a fair point. But we've seen him turn the ball over, like I said, a lot of times already, and still lead his team to the playoffs. So I know what I'm getting with Phillip Rivers. I don't know how much of that Ryan Tannehill stuff was just 1 year. Nobody even taking the Tennessee Titans seriously because they were looking like a joke to begin with. And then, some teams just get hot, George. It's one of those unexplainable things. Tennessee got hot at the right time, and more credit to them. Right? Very well, great coach. They signed Jadeveon Clowney, so their defense will be pretty good. I'd imagine again. But they did lose the key pieces. They traded Gerald Casey away, which I will mention, and they also lost Logan Ryan. So there's some pieces they lost. But we'll see. I like the pick. That's a good pick.
So who are your wild cards in the AFC?
I'll say now Houston. I do have Houston as one of my wild card teams. Just not because I believe they're going to be better than some of the teams that I don't have making the playoffs, but because they're in an easier division. It'll be a lot easier for the Texans to win 10 games than, let's say, the Browns in the AFC North. Like they're just in a tougher division. So I think I have the Texans in, and then I got Baltimore as my wild card team.
Baltimore. Okay.
I didn't have the one in the division. I had Pittsburgh in.
Yeah, I have Baltimore as well. I'm still concerned over Phillip Rivers and his interception, his turnover problem.
I fear. It's a fear.
But I think we're going to have a Tennessee of our own surprise folks this year. I think they're going to really focus on Josh Jacobs, handing him the ball off in every facet. They do also have their safety, Abraham, healthy again after only playing one game last year. So I think Las Vegas Raiders, in their first year in Vegas, will qualify for that final wild card spot. So that's our picks. We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned because we're going to give you our Super Bowl picks. Our Super Bowl picks. Roll, who do you have making the Super Bowl out of the NFC?
Out of the NFC, it's tough. I'll say that. It is a tough one. I'm going. Something is telling me to go with Seattle. Like, that's where my gut is telling me to go with it. My gut is telling me Seattle. But I'm going to say this, George. I think a team's going to get hot. And I think that's what it's going to take for a team to get to, like, it's not going to be about crowd or home, it's not going to be about the crowd.
Right.
So I look at the teams, and it's going to be about great coaching, and it's going to be about great players. That's what it's going to come down to. So I think Seattle's going to be one because they have great coaching, great players. And then it's going to be tough. You're going to have to work with me, guys, because it's like, I don't want to say it either. But I'm going to say Dallas. And I am fighting to not pick Dallas. Something is telling me don't go Dallas. So for the heck of not going with Dallas, I'm not going to pick Dallas. I'll take Seattle. Seattle, I think, will represent the NFC. But I think Dallas is going. I don't know, George, because Dallas they possess a lot of problems for a lot of teams in the NFL. Because not many teams are going to have 3 solid corners to stop a CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup. It takes 3 corners. You're not just going to put, like last year, you just put 1 corner on Amari Cooper and shut this down. CeeDee Lamb, big time. He's going to play. And Michael Gallup, when healthy, is almost as good or more explosive than Amari Cooper. So, and we're talking about Zeke possibly being healthy and the defense improved. It's tough not to pick him. I just think Russell Wilson is going to have an MVP year. So I'm gonna pick Russell Wilson to get it done. But if to make it in simple time here, much like in the NBA, where Giannis and the Bucks have no problem, have no business losing to Miami, right? They should not be losing to Miami. But styles make matchups. And stylistically, the Cowboys against the Seattle is not a favorable matchup for Seattle. Because they don't have a corner to even guard Amari Cooper. Let alone to guard CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. So if they have to face, I might actually pick Dallas. But I'm gonna assume Seattle is gonna be able to avoid facing them. So I'm gonna pick Seattle to get the job done. But man, if they have to face in the NFC Championship game, don't be surprised. It's our Super Bowl representative at the NFC. It's gonna be Dallas. Don't be shocked.
I'm calling you Roland Bayless from now on. You're changing your last name to Bayless from this Zoom until the end of the season.
I swear, it's not a Dallas hat. I swear to you.
Your name is Roland Bayless until the end of this NFL season. That's it. We're putting that into writing right now. My pick is Tampa Bay. I mean, you're talking about a motivated Tom Brady that wants to show.
And you're calling me Roland Bayless. Okay, Tom Brady.
You're talking about a Tom Brady motivated to prove himself against Bill Belichick.
Terrific, Tom.
With Bruce Arians, the quarterback whisperer. And you have Mike Evans. You got Godwin.
Gosh.
A returning Gronk. You've got Fournette. You've got a solid squad that can make up for the defense mistakes that will probably happen.
Oh my gosh.
And I think for the same reasons you said Dallas would beat Seattle in the NFC Championship game. Those are the very same reasons I'm choosing Tampa Bay to go past Seattle in the NFC Championship.
Stop it.
Mike Evans is a bad
Let me tell you.
Godwin is
I wasn't picking no team out of the NFC South to make it to the Super Bowl. Why? Because I don't want none of them to be there. So yeah, I had Tampa Bay and Atlanta in it. Or they're going to make the championship? Hell no. Not on my watch.
And especially, they'll make the Super Bowl in their home turf. And by then, I guarantee you I'll be in those seats at the cheap seats, nosebleeds, with a Carolina jersey on, with your name on the back, and a Tampa Bay hat.
Is it going to say Roland Bayless on it?
It's going to say Roland Bayless right on the back. And I'll be right there. I'll be the fan that's waving at the Fox camera. Zoom in to see the soul.
Get it on me. Get it on me.
Who is your AFC pick, sir?
Let me say this, George. It's Kansas City.
Okay.
But for the same reason I just brought up about Dallas and Seattle, if Kansas City has to play Pittsburgh, we could be talking about something different.
Yeah.
We could be talking about a totally different situation. Because what do Pittsburgh do really well defensively? They guard a lot of cheap. Those deep shots, you're not getting when Minka Fitzpatrick's back there. You're not even barely going to have enough time with TJ Watt breathing down your neck. They got really fast linebackers.
Yeah.
And Devin Bush and can't even remember the other kid's name, but the other middle linebacker they have. They have fast linebackers, so they can guard Travis Kelce. They have bodies. They can throw Travis Kelce's direction. And they have good enough corners to where, I mean, no one's keeping up with Tyreek Hill. That's just impossible. Yeah. But if you tell me Joe Hayden's matched up against Sammy Watkins, I like Joe Hayden against that. I like Joe Hayden big time. And they have capable D linemen and Cameron Hayward, and so like
who just got re-signed. Yep.
You know, like, and I already talked about their offensive weapons. Have plenty of those. So it could be one of those situations where if Kansas City had to face Pittsburgh, I might flip that pick. I may consider something different. But assuming that Kansas City won't have to face Pittsburgh, I'm going to take Kansas City. And I think Kansas City is going to have one of those. I think this is the start of the Michael Jordan era in football. This is Patrick Mahomes' time. Yeah. He's going to three-peat. He's going to break. Go play baseball for a year or so. Come back. Three-peat that motherfucker again. This is what we're dealing with. This is Patrick Mahomes' time. Between in the Super Bowl or
the Super Bowl, Seattle, Kansas City.
So Seattle, I think Seattle gets steamrolled. Me personally, I think they get steamrolled. So I'll say something along the lines of like 34-14, maybe something like that. And I'll give Russell Wilson credit. He'll be the reason why they get 14 points. He'll be the reason. But when you got Patrick Mahomes throwing Steph Curry 3-point shots from like half court, just throwing dimes all over the place. What in a run first offense that Seattle's in, you're not gonna be able to keep up with that. There's just no way, you know. So give me Seattle. I mean, give me Kansas City to be our defending two-time Super Bowl champions.
Roland, I just told you that Tom
Don't you even think about it.
I just told you Tom Brady's on a mission.
Oh, my God.
The first quarterback ever to lead his team to a Super Bowl in their home court. But alas, who is that on the opposite coast?
That Mahomes?
Oh, my goodness. It's good old Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes boy?
It's Mahomes boy. I have Tampa Bay scoring 31 points.
Okay.
And Mahomes is going to go off for 45.
Hey, there we go.
It's going to be the most bittersweet Super Bowl.
You scared me.
Where you're like, oh, Tom Brady's finally here. He proved all the naysayers wrong. He brought the Bucs team to the promised land. And then, oh my God, sweet chin music from out of nowhere. And then KO from out of nowhere. Patrick Mahomes, by God, Tom Brady, he's got a whole family to feed.
That's a bad man.
Ooh, Patrick Mahomes is going to have a field day. Mostly because those offensive weapons are going to be way too much for that Tampa Bay defense.
And I think we didn't even mention Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We didn't even talk about him.
We didn't mention him at all.
And he could be the key to all of this.
The week one starter as we speak.
Oh, trust me, I have him in fantasy.
But as much as I love Brady fulfilling this story and making it to the Super Bowl, it's Patrick Mahomes, baby. This is the man who signed the most lucrative contract in NFL history, baby. This is Patrick Mahomes, who not only got his Super Bowl ring, but engaged to his now fiance the same day. He said, "I got 2 rings. Let's go. Now I'm gonna have 2 Super Bowl rings." And this will be, I agree with you, the start of a dynasty. Because you don't sign Patrick Mahomes to a 10-year deal and not expect to get into dynasty mode after this.
Immediately.
And those are our Super Bowl picks. Let us know. Email us at offthebenchYTTV@gmail.com. Email us what you think the Super Bowl predictions are going to be on your guys' end. We can't wait for this NFL season. Guys, we want to hear your voices, your comments. Email us any questions you have on the NFL season. We will answer those questions live here on every episode. Please. Make sure you email us those questions. Follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Continue the rise to the top of the Spotify charts. And subscribe and more. I'll catch you guys later.